questions, you can note that in the chat as well. Now I'll go ahead and toss it to Council President Evan Glass for opening remarks, and then we'll open it up for questions. Council President, to you.
Well, thank you very much, Jordan, and good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you for joining me today for what I expect will be my last media briefing as president of the Montgomery County Council this year, given that the council is scheduled to elect our new officers tomorrow. And on a personal note, I just want to extend my appreciation to all of you. As local news coverage across the region and across the country continues to dwindle, the work that you do is so incredibly important. I want to extend my appreciation to all of you for being consistent, truth-seeking professionals, to you and all of your teams. As a former journalist myself, I know that your work is incredibly important for our ability to maintain a vibrant and functioning democracy. And at next week's media availability, it will be held by the next council president, which leads me to the first item, which is the election of officers at the council. As many of you know, the election of Montgomery County Council officers is a yearly occurrence, and it is required by our rules to take place on the first council session in December. The outgoing president and the vice president step down from their roles, and a new president and vice president are elected by colleagues for a one-year term. And I have been speaking to my colleagues about their ideas and what they want to see in their next council officers. And so I encourage everyone to tune in tomorrow afternoon to watch the election and hear everybody's thoughts as we celebrate the leadership changes here at the council. And as I reflect on the last year, I just want to share how exciting it has been to work with my colleagues, work with the county executive and all of our partners here in government and in the county. And I am extremely proud of what we have accomplished in this first year, a historic year for the 20th council. I'm going to give my full remarks tomorrow when we elect our new officers, but I just wanted to provide you with a few highlights of a few things that I am particularly proud of. You know, after our successful effort to expand the council and to increase representation for our residents, we now have an 11-member council, which is the most racially diverse and representative council that we have had in Montgomery County's history. And as council president, I also initiated several reforms that have increased our community's ability to both follow what the council is working on and to make sure that their voices are heard. We extended the comment time at public hearings. At board appointment processes, we made them open to the public. We've translated newsletters into Spanish and Mandarin Chinese. And my colleagues and I also worked extremely hard to pass a $6.7 billion budget to fund ongoing investments in education, strengthen health services, provide resources to expand affordable housing, and support innovative ways to boost our economic development. In that same vein, one of my first actions as council president was to create the new Economic Development Committee so that we could focus on job creation, support small businesses, and tackle the racial wealth gap. Also, as chair of the Transportation and Environment Committee, an ongoing priority of mine will be, has been, and will continue to be making sure our roads are safer for everyone. And this year, the council passed two major initiatives, the Safe Streets Act and the Pedestrian Master Plan, which will both help us achieve the goal of making our roads safer for pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers. And finally, we have a long tradition of inclusivity and celebrating our differences here in the county by encouraging all residents to live as their true and authentic selves. That is one of the main reasons that I continue to call Montgomery County home. It's one of the reasons a third of our residents have moved here from other countries, because we are a diverse and welcoming place. And it is why I worked with my colleagues and led the effort to create the anti-hate task force. And you'll hear more of that in just a moment. And also, just wanted to say that we also received a report on the Pay Equity Act that I sponsored and passed in 2019, which is the first report that shows that we have closed the gender pay disparities here in Montgomery County for new hires. So it is something that we are leading not only the nation, but the state on. And I'm proud of that being my very first piece of legislation passed, and to see and receive an update on how it's been implemented just a few months ago. I mentioned the anti-hate task force, and switching gears, just want to share that tomorrow the council will receive a presentation from the anti-hate task force on its recommendations. Now, last week on Tuesday, the task force had its final meeting and presented its recommendations for the first time to all of the members of the group. I was there, colleagues were there, and the county executive were there, and we engaged in a very honest conversation amongst all members, sharing how they feel and their communities feel during these very difficult times. These are hard conversations, but they are important conversations. And we are seeing in real time how vital the work of this task force is. While we have all been following the events in the Middle East, many of us have been personally affected by the increase in hate directed at the Muslim community, at the Jewish community, at many other communities here. Not only across the country, but here at home. And when I launched the task force 6 months ago, I knew this was going to be a difficult initiative, but I also recognized that following conversations I'd had with residents, with colleagues, and others, that it was incredibly necessary to involve the community in finding solutions to combat hate and hateful acts here at home. And above all, what was highlighted during the last meeting on last week of the task force, what was highlighted was the desire to make sure that every resident feels safe, has the support that they need to live their best lives. And one of our primary goals as an elected official should be to make sure everyone feels safe in our community. And the 6 different groups that were part of this helped bring those ideas. And I want to thank every member of the task force and all of those in our broader community who helped them with their work and help bring those ideas. And so tomorrow we will have a full report by the 6 different cohorts, the 6 different groups. There were nearly 50 meetings of the task force, and I look forward to the conversation that will ensue with the 6 different groups and all 11 members of the council, so that we can stand together and forcefully denounce hatred and bigotry in Montgomery County. We have to stand together and make sure that our motto of saying hate has no home here is more than a motto. It has to become reality, and that is what we're working toward. Last thing I will mention this afternoon, you might have seen on Friday or over the weekend that the Office of the Inspector General released the first of 2 reports that are expected regarding the Montgomery County Public Schools situation regarding Joel Beidelman, the former principal of Farquhar Middle School. The allegations against Mr. Beidelman were detailed first in the Washington Post, which prompted Councilmember Don Ludke and me to call for an independent investigation by the Inspector General into MCPS's handling of this matter. And it took some time, but I'm glad that the Inspector General has done this report. The purpose of that request was to ensure that an independent, accountable, and transparent retelling of what happened was available for the public, for the school staff, for parents, and for teachers. The report released by the Montgomery County Office of the Inspector General on Friday clearly shows the reasons why MCPS must take swift personnel action. Claims of bullying, intimidation, and sexual harassment must always be taken seriously and investigated fully and promptly to protect those who are the target of abuse. Abusers and those responsible for perpetrating abusive behavior must be held accountable. I want to thank Inspector General Lamarzi and her team for their work on this report. But what is not in this report is a detailing of who knew about all of the allegations and reports. Where did that information go? And where did it not go? I expect that will be in a second report by the Inspector General. But in order for everyone to feel safe in our schools and to restore trust with the public, we need to know who knew what and when. And that I expect will be in the Inspector General's second report. That is how we rebuild trust and provide for full transparency and accountability and ensure that everyone is safe in our community. And with that, Jordan, I'll open it up to any questions folks might have.
Thank you, Council President Glass. Reporters, again, if you have any questions, please note that in the chat or you can raise your hand. I don't see any questions at the moment. I'll give a few moments for reporters. If you have any questions, note it in the chat. Going once, going twice. Okay, 3 times. Back to you, Council President Glass. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Again, it has been a pleasure speaking with you almost weekly for the last year, but I encourage you to stay tuned to tomorrow afternoon when the council will have our election. And of course, you all know how to reach me. I'm not going anywhere. And so I look forward to continuing our conversation, whether it is on a Monday afternoon, media availability, or elsewhere. And with that, have yourselves a good afternoon.
Thank you.